1. Godzilla's original design was inspired by a combination of a Tyrannosaurus rex and an iguana, giving it a unique and menacing appearance. 2. The first Godzilla film, released in 1954, was a metaphor for the devastating effects of nuclear weapons, drawing on the recent memories of the atomic bombings in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. 3. Godzilla's atomic breath is a representation of the radioactive fallout from nuclear explosions, highlighting the destructive power of nuclear technology. 4. In the original Japanese film, Godzilla is not portrayed solely as a villain but rather as a force of nature responding to humanity's misuse of atomic power. 5. Godzilla's size has varied over the years, with some iterations reaching heights of over 300 feet, emphasizing its overwhelming and unstoppable nature. 6. The radioactive nature of Godzilla's origin means that its mere presence can leave a trail of destruction, causing long-term environmental damage. 7. Godzilla's resilience and regenerative abilities make it nearly indestructible, posing a constant threat to any attempts to contain or eliminate it. 8. The idea of Godzilla being a prehistoric creature awakened and mutated by nuclear testing reflects the fear of the unknown consequences of human actions. 9. Godzilla's roar, created by manipulating the sound of rubbing a resin-coated glove along the strings of a double bass, adds a chilling and otherworldly aspect to its presence. 10. Godzilla's amphibious nature allows it to emerge unexpectedly from the depths of the ocean, symbolizing the unpredictability of natural disasters. 11. The destruction caused by Godzilla often includes iconic landmarks, emphasizing the vulnerability of human civilization in the face of such a colossal force. 12. Some storylines suggest that Godzilla is not the only one of its kind, hinting at the possibility of multiple destructive creatures lying dormant beneath the Earth's surface. 13. Godzilla's ability to adapt to different environments and climates makes it a global threat, capable of wreaking havoc in various ecosystems. 14. The creature's immense weight and mass result in seismic disturbances when it moves, causing earthquakes and further contributing to the devastation it brings. 15. Godzilla's intelligence is often portrayed as high, making it a formidable adversary capable of strategic thinking and adapting to human countermeasures. 16. The idea of Godzilla having a lifespan measured in centuries or even millennia implies that its threat is not limited to a single generation but persists across ages. 17. The concept of Godzilla being a product of ancient myths and legends adds a supernatural and mystical element to its existence. 18. In some storylines, Godzilla's cells are used to create other monstrous creatures, leading to the unintentional creation of additional threats to humanity. 19. Godzilla's ability to absorb and utilize radiation for sustenance adds a horrifying twist to its connection with nuclear energy. 20. The creature's destructive rampage often results in the displacement of entire populations, highlighting the human cost of its existence. 21. Godzilla's iconic dorsal plates, which glow when it is about to unleash its atomic breath, serve as a visual warning of impending devastation. 22. The symbolism of Godzilla as a metaphor for the consequences of human arrogance and environmental negligence adds a layer of social commentary to its character. 23. Godzilla's presence can disrupt ecosystems, causing long-term imbalances and threatening the survival of other species. 24. Some interpretations suggest that Godzilla is a guardian of the Earth, awakened to restore balance when humanity's actions upset the natural order. 25. The prolonged exposure to Godzilla's radiation can have mutagenic effects on living organisms, leading to the creation of mutated and deformed creatures. 26. Godzilla's resilience to conventional weaponry often forces humanity to resort to extreme measures, such as developing experimental and ethically questionable weapons. 27. The constant fear of Godzilla's return creates a psychological burden on the fictional societies within the Godzilla universe, affecting their way of life. 28. The creature's ability to regenerate from near-fatal injuries challenges humanity's ability to find a permanent solution to the Godzilla problem. 29. Godzilla's occasional alliance with other monsters does not eliminate the underlying threat it poses, but amplifies the scale of destruction when multiple kaiju are involved. 30. The radioactive fallout caused by Godzilla's attacks has long-term health effects on survivors, including radiation sickness and genetic mutations. 31. Godzilla's presence often leads to the militarization of society, with a focus on developing weapons to defend against the monster, escalating tensions and diverting resources. 32. The psychological trauma experienced by individuals who witness Godzilla's attacks is a recurring theme in the aftermath of the creature's appearances. 33. The relentless pursuit of scientific and military solutions to counter Godzilla underscores humanity's struggle against forces beyond its control. 34. Godzilla's ability to adapt its behavior in response to different threats makes it a highly unpredictable and elusive adversary. 35. The destruction caused by Godzilla's battles with other monsters adds to the collateral damage, further intensifying the impact on human civilization. 36. The creature's resistance to conventional morality and ethical considerations makes it a force that cannot be reasoned with or deterred through traditional means. 37. Godzilla's roars and vocalizations, when heard from a distance, create an atmosphere of dread and anticipation, signaling the impending chaos it brings. 38. The concept of Godzilla being a product of human experimentation gone awry adds an element of hubris to its origin story. 39. Godzilla's appearance can trigger mass panic and societal breakdown, revealing the fragility of human civilization in the face of existential threats. 40. The cultural and psychological impact of living in a world with the constant threat of Godzilla shapes the collective consciousness of the fictional societies depicted in the films. 41. Godzilla's ability to trigger natural disasters, such as tsunamis and storms, adds a supernatural element to its repertoire of destructive powers. 42. The creature's relentless pursuit of its objectives, whether driven by instinct or a form of intelligence, makes it an implacable force that cannot be easily diverted. 43. Godzilla's resistance to conventional morality and ethical considerations challenges the human tendency to anthropomorphize and empathize with other living beings. 44. The potential for Godzilla's existence to be weaponized by governments or organizations for their own agendas raises ethical questions about the militarization of natural phenomena. 45. The impact of Godzilla's attacks on global economies, infrastructure, and resources underscores the interconnectedness of the world in the face of a common threat. 46. Godzilla's presence disrupts the balance of power among nations, leading to geopolitical tensions and conflicts over the management of the kaiju threat. 47. The idea of Godzilla as a symbol of karmic retribution for humanity's sins introduces a moral dimension to its role in the fictional universe. 48. The concept of Godzilla as a primordial force challenges human notions of dominance and control over the natural world. 49. Godzilla's resistance to containment measures raises ethical questions about the use of force and the limits of human intervention in the face of uncontrollable forces. 50. The psychological toll on individuals tasked with confronting Godzilla, whether as soldiers, scientists, or government officials, adds a human element to the narrative. 51. Godzilla's potential to trigger a nuclear winter, either through its actions or as a response to human attempts to eliminate it, poses an existential threat to all life on Earth. 52. The fear of Godzilla's return becomes a generational burden, with subsequent generations inheriting the consequences of their predecessors' actions. 53. The possibility of Godzilla evolving into more powerful forms over time challenges humanity's ability to anticipate and prepare for future threats. 54. The concept of Godzilla as a representation of humanity's collective guilt for environmental degradation adds a layer of moral complexity to its character. 55. Godzilla's ability to disrupt electronic communication and technology adds a modern twist to its repertoire of destructive powers. 56. The impact of Godzilla's attacks on marine ecosystems, including the disturbance of underwater habitats and the contamination of oceans, adds an ecological dimension to its destructive path. 57. The psychological toll on individuals tasked with studying Godzilla, attempting to understand its motivations, and finding ways to counter it raises ethical questions about the sacrifice of individual well-being for the greater good. 58. Godzilla's potential to trigger mass extinctions through its actions, directly or indirectly, challenges the resilience of Earth's ecosystems. 59. The recurring theme of humanity's attempts to exploit Godzilla's powers for its own gain often results in unintended consequences and further catastrophe. 60. The inevitability of collateral damage and loss of innocent lives in the wake of Godzilla's appearances highlights the moral dilemma of sacrificing the few for the survival of the many. 61. Godzilla's indifference to human suffering and its single-minded pursuit of its objectives create a sense of hopelessness in the face of an unstoppable force. 62. The concept of Godzilla as a living embodiment of the consequences of unchecked scientific experimentation adds a cautionary tale to the narrative. 63. Godzilla's potential to trigger volcanic activity and earthquakes through its movements adds to the list of catastrophic consequences associated with its existence. 64. The psychological impact on individuals who become obsessed with studying Godzilla, risking their sanity and personal relationships, adds a tragic human element to the story. 65. The unpredictable nature of Godzilla's behavior challenges humanity's ability to develop effective strategies for containment or negotiation. 66. The symbolism of Godzilla as a metaphor for the destructive power of unchecked industrialization and urbanization adds a socio-environmental dimension to its character. 67. The concept of Godzilla as a manifestation of collective human fears and anxieties taps into the primal fear of the unknown and uncontrollable. 68. Godzilla's potential to disrupt global weather patterns through its actions introduces a climate-related threat that transcends traditional disaster scenarios. 69. The concept of Godzilla as a living representation of the consequences of humanity's disregard for the natural world adds a philosophical layer to its character. 70. The possibility of Godzilla's existence leading to the implementation of authoritarian regimes and martial law as a response to the perceived threat challenges notions of democracy and individual freedoms. 71. The idea of Godzilla as a harbinger of apocalyptic scenarios, such as the release of catastrophic forces or the awakening of otherworldly entities, adds a cosmic horror element to its narrative. 72. Godzilla's ability to induce mass hysteria and social breakdown challenges the resilience of human societies in the face of existential threats. 73. The potential for Godzilla's cells to be weaponized for biological warfare raises ethical questions about the use of nature's destructive power for human conflicts. 74. Godzilla's ability to trigger psychological trauma in survivors, leading to a collective fear of the outdoors and open spaces, adds a unique layer of horror to its impact on society. 75. The concept of Godzilla as a living embodiment of the consequences of humanity's greed and exploitation of natural resources adds a moral dimension to its character. 76. Godzilla's potential to disrupt the global balance of power by favoring or opposing specific nations challenges geopolitical stability on an unprecedented scale. 77. The psychological toll on individuals tasked with developing and deploying weapons against Godzilla, knowing the potential consequences of their actions, adds a moral dilemma to the narrative. 78. The idea of Godzilla as a manifestation of humanity's subconscious fears and anxieties reflects the psychological toll of living in a world with the constant threat of the kaiju. 79. The potential for Godzilla to trigger mass migrations and refugee crises as populations seek safety from its destructive path adds a human tragedy to its impact. 80. Godzilla's potential to induce mass hysteria and cult-like behaviors, including the worship of the creature as a deity or the attribution of supernatural powers, challenges rational thinking and societal norms. 81. The concept of Godzilla as a living representation of the consequences of humanity's disregard for biodiversity and the interconnectedness of ecosystems adds an environmental message to its character. 82. Godzilla's potential to disrupt global trade routes and economies through its attacks on coastal cities highlights the interconnectedness of the world in the face of a common threat. 83. The psychological impact on individuals tasked with sacrificing themselves to confront Godzilla, knowing the likely futility of their efforts, adds a tragic heroism to the narrative. 84. The concept of Godzilla as a living embodiment of the consequences of humanity's exploitation of animals for scientific experimentation adds an ethical dimension to its character. 85. Godzilla's potential to trigger psychological disorders, such as mass delusions or widespread paranoia, challenges the resilience of societal structures. 86. The recurring theme of humanity's attempts to manipulate Godzilla for military advantage leading to unintended consequences and further catastrophe adds a cautionary tale to the narrative. 87. Godzilla's potential to induce widespread cultural and societal nihilism, as individuals grapple with the futility of their efforts against an unstoppable force, adds a philosophical layer to its impact on society. 88. The concept of Godzilla as a symbol of the consequences of humanity's disregard for indigenous cultures and traditional knowledge adds a cultural and social dimension to its character. 89. Godzilla's potential to disrupt global communication networks and information systems challenges the interconnectedness of the modern world. 90. The psychological toll on individuals tasked with sacrificing the well-being of their communities to confront Godzilla, knowing the likely futility of their efforts, adds a tragic human element to the narrative. 91. The concept of Godzilla as a living embodiment of the consequences of humanity's disregard for ethical considerations and scientific research adds a moral dimension to its character. 92. Godzilla's potential to induce mass psychosomatic illnesses, such as shared delusions or psychogenic illnesses, challenges our understanding of the mind-body connection. 93. The idea of Godzilla as a living representation of the consequences of humanity's neglect of mental health and well-being adds a societal and public health dimension to its character. 94. Godzilla's potential to induce widespread cultural and societal fatalism, as individuals resign themselves to the inevitability of their demise, adds a psychological layer to its impact on society. 95. The concept of Godzilla as a living embodiment of the consequences of humanity's disregard for international cooperation and diplomacy adds a geopolitical dimension to its character. 96. Godzilla's potential to induce mass existential crises, as individuals grapple with the futility of their existence in the face of an unstoppable force, adds a philosophical layer to its impact on society. 97. The psychological toll on individuals tasked with making morally ambiguous decisions to confront Godzilla, knowing the potential consequences of their actions, adds a moral dilemma to the narrative. 98. The concept of Godzilla as a living representation of the consequences of humanity's disregard for cultural diversity and inclusivity adds a socio-cultural dimension to its character. 99. Godzilla's potential to induce widespread cultural and societal fatalism, as individuals resign themselves to the inevitability of their demise, adds a psychological layer to its impact on society. 100. The concept of Godzilla as a living embodiment of the consequences of humanity's disregard for the long-term consequences of its actions adds an ethical and environmental message to its character.